Wages will drop, and the inflation tax. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee. Let's have a look at this article from Yahoo Finance written by David Taylor. The RBA created $160 billion out of thin air. What it means for you. Now, I was talking to a friend yesterday, and he still thought, because I was suggesting, talking about different investments to hedge against this rampant inflation that could happen around the world. And one of them is gold or silver or those type of things. And he still seemed to think that money was backed by gold. Now, I think a lot of people tend to have that assumption that money is backed by something. Well, the only thing it's really backed by is, well, the threat of violence if you don't have it to pay when you need it from the government. You need to pay your taxes. It's your keep me out of jail free tokens, essentially. And, well, people love it for that. So, the Reserve Bank is perhaps the only Australian institution that can perform a magic trick. Oh boy. At its discretion, which Governor Philip Lowe reminded at the National Press Club last week, he takes very seriously, the RBA can create money out of thin air. Now, in the traditional definition of inflation, when you increase the supply of money by creating it out of thin air, that inflates it, and that reduces its purchasing power overall. Now, there is the Cantillon effect that we all need to be aware of. It refers to the change in relative prices, so one good compared to another, resulting from a change in money supply. The change in relative prices occurs because the change in money supply has a specific injection point into the economy, and therefore a specific flow path. Now, I'm going to have a shot of coffee, and let us know in the comments if you know what the most popular flow path through the Australian economy is. If you answered housing, well, there you go, guys. And what happens? Is housing getting cheaper now? Is so many other things are getting cheaper around the world? Our technology is improving. As the coronavirus pandemic reached a climax and the economy went into a deep recession, it became extraordinarily clear monetary policy would be needed. The central bank took the decision to print money. But long gone are the days when the bank would haul fresh minted cash to its bank vaults. Now the bank simply adds extra digits to the commercial bank's exchange settlement funds, deposit accounts held with the bank. A transaction takes place. The bank buys a government bond from the NAB, for example, and then credits the NAB's RBA bank account without the NAB having to lift a finger. Hey presto, new money is created. Where is all the money going? The whole process of money printing, quantitative easing, is designed to spur economic activity, drive inflation higher, and lead to more money in your pocket via higher wages. Spoiler alert, despite the RBA's first round of quantitative easing, 100 billion, coming to a close, this hasn't happened. And the question is, well, we've also got insanely low cash rates. And look at the States. Their interest rates are quite low, and they tried to normalize them. And they just did QE again and again and again. The economy has picked up, but it hasn't led to higher inflation or wage growth. Indeed, the latest analysis from consulting firm EY shows if you take inflation into account, despite its low level, your take-home pay is expected to go backwards over the next couple of years. Inflation over the cost of living is higher than wage growth. Even your money sitting in the bank account, if you're getting the bonus interest like at CBA at 0.55%, you're still below the inflation rate, guys. You're going backwards. Your money is losing value. And things are getting more expensive. The problem is the increase in land isn't incorporated into inflation as it should be, because that has an impact on all of us, all of our spending, our discretionary spending, which reduces the velocity of money because we're just sitting on piles of cash that we have to hoard to get into property. And that's the most important thing to a lot of Australians here. And the problem is it just takes longer and longer. People want to start a family, and which I can understand. I remember when we got pregnant with our first child, I wanted a house. I wanted a yard. And we were quite fortunate to find a dump, to be honest, that needs a lot of work. We've got to demolish a whole portion of it. We're going to pile a lot of money into this place. But it's still going to be worth it with the amount of bloody inflation in the property sector in the last few years. It's just crazy. So, what we also know, according to property research firm CoreLogic, is the national property prices are at the highest levels ever. Yeah, just after we've had our first recession in 28 years. Now, admittedly, that's partly due to rapid regional price rises, but it doesn't change the basic fact. Record low interest rates have led to another run-up in the property market. Well, not just record low interest rates, government intervention, left, right, and center. You got home builder is pushing up the demand for land. That's overheating the market. When markets overheat, all the consultants and people working in the construction game, let us know in the comments. When you're busy, what do you do to your prices? Do you put them down? No. You think, you know what, I've got to do that job. I'll have to do it over the weekend. It's too much. Screw it. Whack another 20 grand on it. They want that. We can't do the job. I don't want to do it. But if they pay us that much, we'll do it. That's what happens. Oh, and then you get the job. RBC Capital Markets chief economist Su Linong has confirmed this. In addition, last Friday, the stock market finished up over 1%, capping off its best week in 3 months, closing at an 11-month high. So where's the money going? It's helping drive asset prices higher. There you go. Candle-on effect, guys. Where it's going, that's the money supply. It's a bubble. It's a bubble. It's inflation. So why am I not seeing a penny? The Reserve Bank says your pay packet will rise when bosses find it harder to attract good help. Or put another way, when the labour market tightens. And the problem is now, you're competing with people all over the world. You're competing with people all over the world, depending on your industry, depending on your sector. Times are changing, everyone. So you've got people who immigrate to Australia. They'll do the postgraduate courses. They'll be sold all the bullshit and lies to come over here for a good life. And their quality of life and cost of living will be better back home. You've got people that will come here, do fruit picking, just put up with it. Then they'll fly back home and they'll put an extension on their house. I don't think Australia is the lucky country anymore, guys. There's people leaving stories in the comments of how they're retiring to Thailand and living a comfortable life on a couple of $100 grand. So, anyway, back to this. This happens when firms confident in the future decide to expand their businesses, which means spending money on new projects and hiring more workers to help complete those projects. But you've also got to realize now the more litigious and onerous you make the process of hiring someone or firing someone or taking someone on, the more people are going to look at ways of reducing that, because it's a pain in the ass, guys. If you haven't gone through the process of hiring people, it can work out really well, it can work out really bad. Getting rid of someone really bad is a painful process. So businesses are incentivized to reduce their dependency on people. They'll automate. They will automate, everyone. We're going to see more and more of that here. Look at McDonald's here in Australia. We're one of the few places in the world where you've got the kiosks where you can fill it out. So the more projects they undertake, the harder it will be to find good quality workers, and the better position these workers will be in to bargain for a higher pay. And I mean, I've seen that happen. When I was a student back in the day working while I was studying, no one was paid the award. Everyone was paid like a third higher than the award. Everyone was getting higher pay because, well, there was a demand for architecture students. It was a boom. It was going crazy. Shoppers are back at the stores and cash flow, according to the NAB, is improving. And bosses are keen to hire more staff, but they're unlikely to offer permanent full-time roles with regular pay increases. Why? Well, because COVID remains a threat. Well, not really. It's because the unpredictability of our governments here in Australia. Look at what happened in WA. They shut down Perth. They locked down the city for one case. You had firefighters having to wear bloody surgical masks when they were off fighting fires in WA. It's just insane. That's a risk now to business. I would hate to be in a retail-facing business right now. I was talking to a colleague who was looking at setting up a type of bar business, and he's designing it from the go to be COVID compliant so he can manage the whole process. Because this is now an element of risk. You've got to factor this into your business. As we saw last week, each state and territory is at risk of going into a hard lockdown at a moment's notice. Bosses can't run the risk of having to pay out large redundancies all in one hit. Instead, they're choosing to take on workers in a part-time or flexible capacity. That's why the underutilization rate, which includes the unemployed and underemployed, is stuck at 15%. Now, that's the ABS stats. Let's bring up let's bring up the Roy Morgan unemployment rate here, guys, and we'll have a look at this. Let's have a look. Okay, so this is unemployed and looking for work, the underutilization rate. Where do we want it? Full-time, part-time. Oh, here we go. We'll have a look here. So here's underemployed, unemployed, and here's the combined. They're saying in this article 15%. Roy Morgan, who has a different approach to it, are saying 21.7%. They've got the unemployment rate 11.7 and 10% underutilization. Now, it's because I don't know about you, but the way they survey these things, it seems a bit odd. Really, like if you've worked 1 hour within the survey period, you're considered employed. You have to be looking for work. I mean, there is a methodology they have to do to ensure that their data lines up with previous data so they can compare it over time. But to a normal person, that wouldn't be enough work. So yes, the stimulus is there and it's generating economic activity, but it's not translating into higher wages because our unemployment is still high. So is there anything we can do about this? That'll be interesting. Unions are now lobbying crossbench senators to reject Morrison government's industries relations omnibus bill. They say will lock workers into an 8-year wage freeze. Okay, see, this is the thing. If you think wage increases are dictated by our politicians and by unions, you might be, happy with this, that they're rejecting it. If you think wages increase because of the market and supply and demand, you see that this is just unnecessary rubbish. I would advocate for anything where the government steps back. Because remember, the real minimum wage is nothing. That is what you're entitled to. Nothing. You can get paid zero and not have a job. Then, fortunately, because of the level of sophistication of our civilization, we don't want people to be destitute and we don't want crime to skyrocket, so there are welfare programs to save people. But that's it. If you're not worth the minimum wage, if you're not worth the $25 or the insane amount that people are getting, like $19 something an hour, you may not be able to find a job. And that gets harder the older you get. The government and the unions are restricting your freedoms to negotiate. Some people would be happy to work for less than minimum wage just to get a job. Maybe they don't even need the money. But, that's too much freedom for us here in Australia, everyone here. Too much freedom. We can't have that. So what they'll do is they'll hide it. They'll keep the minimum and they'll just inflate away their purchasing power and destroy any savings that you've managed to squirrel away after they've taxed you to the moon, and they've taxed you every time you go out shopping. They tax you every time you drive on the road. Fantastic, fantastic. And this is why the more people learn, the more bitter and old you become with the institutions here. Industrial Relations Minister Christian Porter said earlier this week the claims in the campaign were factually inaccurate as well as insensitive. But of course, the economy can help too. EY's Joe Masters said real wage growth could also be achieved if the official unemployment rate fell to 4.5% and the underutilization rate dropped below 12%. Then there's actually doubling in the share market. CommSec reports a record number of accounts opening in the second half of last year. Judging by the investor interest in GameStop, both here in Australia and in the US, many more people are having a look at the share market. The property market's a bit harder to tackle if you're short on cash, if you can't beat them. The bottom line is that it's clear there's more stimulus to come. The Reserve Bank will engage in another $100 billion quantitative easing program from April, and interest rates are expected to stay at record lows until 2024. The money will keep pumping out. That's the thing. You can't bet against the Fed, guys. They're just going to keep printing their money. With wage growth set to stay low and sticky for years, the smart money is moving into the asset markets. Tragically, and I really mean that, it will mean millions of Australians won't see any of the benefits of major institutional stimulus. But hey, as long as you have a job, right? Well, he's right here. This is the way it's set up. This is the problem of allowing such an artificial injection of money supply that's not natural, an artificially low interest rate, which is not natural. This is the economic system we have. And it's only a new invention. It's only 100 years old, give or take. Maybe we're due for another currency reset. Happens every 50 years. So what do you think, everyone? What do you reckon? Let us know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. Do you think most people understand the actual implications of this? We're all going to be, our savings will be inflated away with another tax. It's just another tax. Anyway, guys, Thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and enjoy the content I create here, there are a few ways you can support us. You can join us on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us using our affiliate links from Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or AussieBroadband. You can buy merch from HeiseSays, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. We also have a SelfWealth referral link where I get 5 free share trades and you get 5 free share trades as well. Take care. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.